Ukrainian military intelligence's drones struck the Novokybyshevsk oil refinery in Russia's Samara Oblast overnight on March 10. The statement came after Russian and Ukrainian sources reported an attack against the facility earlier the same day. The moment of the attack on the facility was recorded by video surveillance cameras. The plant produces gasoline, diesel fuel, and fuel oil, which are critically important for transport and military equipment. This includes jet fuel used by supersonic aircraft such as Su-27 fighter jets and Tu-22 bombers. The Telegram channel City of Novokybyshevsk reported that there were several explosions heard over the city at night. Tonight, the city could have been attacked, but there is no official information yet. It is known that several loud pops were heard. The sounds were heard in different parts of the city. Residents wrote that the walls and windows were shaking, the Telegram channel noted. According to the Telegram channel shot, citing local residents, the sound typical of a UAV was heard in the sky over the city before the explosion. A powerful explosion occurred near the local oil refinery. Eyewitnesses saw bright flashes in the sky. Preliminary reports suggest that one of Ukraine's UAVs was shot down as it approached the facility, added shot. The refinery is the most powerful oil processing facility among the Samara Group plants of PJSC and K Rosneft. The refinery's design processing capacity is over 8.8 million tons of oil per year. Samara Oblast residents reported loud explosions overnight, Astra wrote, adding that a fire was recorded at the Rosneft-run oil facility. The refinery was not sufficiently protected by anti-drone defenses. Meanwhile, Russia's Ministry of Defense claims to have intercepted and downed several drones, reporting a total of 9, 3 over Samara Oblast, 2 each over Voronezh and Oryol, and 1 each over Belgorod and Kursk. The city of Novokybyshevsk lies roughly 900 kilometers from the front line in Ukraine. The facility was previously attacked at least twice in March 2024.
The United States, having decided to end its support for Ukraine, cannot simply turn off the Ukrainian Air Force's US-designed F-16 fighters. But the Trump administration has cut off vital support for their jamming capabilities, which could deprive the Ukrainian Air Force of a critical air countermeasure. However, as Forbes analyst David Axe writes, the Ukrainians are not powerless and can shift the burden of air jamming onto the French Dassault Mirage 2000 fighters. As Axe points out, the Ukrainian Air Force is taking full advantage of the ability of F-16s equipped with AN/ALQ-131 pods to flood Russian radar screens with electronic noise. They act as flying air defenses with advanced missile warning technology, notes the conflict intelligence team. But the Russian Air Force can circumvent the jamming by reprogramming its radars to different frequencies. As Axe points out, while the Biden Air Force was able to keep up with the Russian adaptation by constantly tweaking the AN/ALQ-131 frequencies under Trump, Ukrainian pilots are not receiving updates and the programs could soon become obsolete. However, France's Mirage 2000s are equipped with their own powerful jammers, and the Americans are not involved in their programming, the analyst notes. The Mirage 2000 5F, currently in service with the French Air Force, flies with a combination of the Serval radar warning receiver, Sabre jammer, and Eclair flare dispenser. This system was cutting edge in the 1980s, but within a generation it was falling behind. Recognizing this weakness and understanding the seriousness of the Russian missile threat over Ukraine, the French Ministry of Defense promised to install new electronic countermeasures on the Mirage 2000s before handing them over to Ukraine. The ministry probably had in mind the predominantly analog integrated countermeasures Suite Mark II or the all-digital integrated countermeasures Suite Mark III, Axe notes. Either system is an improvement over the older system and a potential replacement for the AN/ALQ-131, as the American pods lag behind the Russian adaptation. The French are firm allies of Ukraine and are willing to reprogram the jammers if necessary. In the longer term, the Ukrainians could refit their F-16s with non-American electronic countermeasures, Axe notes. But that could take time and money that Ukraine cannot afford. In February, French Defense Minister Sébastien Lecornu announced that Ukraine had received the first Mirage 2005F fighters. And on the night of March the 7th, French Mirage fighters took part for the first time in repelling a Russian attack and shot down Russian missiles. Collective Security Treaty Organization Secretary General and former senior Kazakh official Imangali Tazmagambetov said the STO is ready to offer Russia assistance if European military contingents are sent to Ukraine. In an interview with the Russian newspaper Izvestia, Tazmagambetov echoed some of the Kremlin's anti-NATO narratives. Tazmagambetov said, in particular, that NATO's activity after Sweden and Finland joined the alliance cannot but cause concern, since we are talking about increasing the line of frontal contact between the zones of responsibility of two military-political alliances, NATO and the CSTO. Answering a question about proposals being considered in Europe to send troops to Ukraine, Tazmagambetov stated that this is not the first time such initiatives have been discussed. These contingents are still not officially present there. The reason is that this could create a dangerous situation on a regional scale. In addition, the population of European countries, tired of the growing negative phenomena in the economy and social sphere, is unlikely to approve of such a decision by their governments. After all, this will be an additional burden on the shoulders of society. Even if these contingents are not involved in offensive operations, but will, for example, perform police or observation functions, the CSTO Secretary General said. If such risks arise, the CSTO will be ready to offer various options for assistance within the framework provided for in the organization's statutory documents and, of course, approved by all member states, he added, without explaining what specific options might be put forward. Talk of sending troops to Ukraine has intensified in Europe in recent weeks. European leaders have acknowledged that the United States has changed its position on the war in Ukraine since the Donald Trump administration came to power. On March the 5th, French President Emmanuel Macron stressed that the war should not end with Ukraine's capitulation and that peace should not be made at any cost. Peace, he said, must be lasting and guaranteed. In this regard, Macron did not rule out the deployment of European army contingents in Ukraine after peace agreements are reached as guarantors. The French president stressed that Russia poses a danger not only to Ukraine, but also to EU countries, pointing out that it continues to strengthen its army and may not stop in Ukraine. He noted Russia's interference in elections in various countries, sabotage and cyber attacks as examples of how Russian aggression knows no bounds. Moscow sees no room for compromise on the issue of the potential deployment of a European peacekeeping contingent on Ukrainian territory. Such a step would mean direct official involvement in the conflict with Russia. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said, "We will categorically not observe such actions. This would mean, I want to say again, not the allegedly hybrid, but the direct, official, undisguised involvement of NATO countries in the war against the Russian Federation. This cannot be allowed," Lavrov said.